Hey again everybody, Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, YouTube and gundam.tk, and it's Sunday night, which means the 6th episode of Gundam Age, the newest anime, has just wrapped up, and now it's time for my sort of reenactment, synopsis, and review, all wrapped up into one. The episode's cold open starts with Flit Asano, who's played here by the advanced grade Unweaponized, and Emily, who I have to give her credit, did not spy on anybody in this episode, standing there and reflecting on the battle that just happened with Dezel, and Emily talking especially about how he's just a kid, and Flit saying, well, he trashed the Yui much better than I did. And Emily decides that they should go to Teridia, but Flit, who had been watching the battle on YouTube on Haro, decides, I'm not going to go, which sets the stage for the decisions that these two are going to have to make. And meanwhile, on the bridge of the Devo, we're about to get some understanding why Grudek does the crazy things he does as he flashes back to the fact that when he was a young salaryman who just decided to go off to another colony, and you can guess that while he was off Angel, he just hits a single button on his computer PC, and he brings up a video of Angel getting destroyed as the photo of his family falls down onto the ground. And I had to say, when Malaise brings him the drink, that I was thinking a little bit about Mirai and Bright, so we'll see how that develops, especially with the multi-generational aspect of this show. The action shifts to the hangar where you won't believe it, but the Genoese is getting an upgrade in terms of weapons and defense, and Wolf decides that he's going to go off to visit some old friends, and Vargas says, I didn't know that kind of people or that kind of place exists in space, and as he zips off, saying he has permission, though I wonder if he really did, Wolf ends up in a space chop shop, and he meets his old friend, and the turn A music from the later episodes plays in the background. Of course, his friend has the obligatory hot anime wife in a short skirt and well up above them on a platform. But what happens more importantly for the plot is that Wolf shows him pictures of the Gundam. Everybody who builds MSs knows about the legendary role that it played, and Wolf says, I need one that's gonna surpass that, and don't forget to paint it pink. I mean white. Also, did you notice that he doesn't wear a normal suit when he goes out flying, it seems? Back to the colony where Flit and Emily are talking about what they want to do, and are they going to run away and go somewhere in a few days, or Flit decides, I want to save everybody even if I can't be the savior that some people seem to want me to be. And I have to say that Flit was coming across as being incredibly level-headed, which is quite different from some of the more recent Gundam protagonists. Anyway, in the end, you can imagine that Emily is quite upset by this, and she storms off saying, I don't know you anymore. And it's going to take Flit finding Emily with Haro and the help of the iPhone 4S, which you'd think wouldn't be out in the future. And all of a sudden, you're not going to guess who shows up. But it's a Zaku, which you may have seen at the end of the last episode. Now, that's going to surprise old school Gundam fans. And the Zaku start fighting with some random purple dudes, and the buildings all of a sudden put up all these shields around them, physical shields, which is protecting them from the battle, which apparently happens all the time. The most important thing I realized is that they don't have models, they won't be getting models, which means none of these mobile suits are going to matter. And just as Flit and Emily are the only ones left in the streets as the battle wages around them, they're called into the sewer by a radical rat, and they end up on the wrong side of the tracks, which is actually the edge of the colony. And they meet a nice guy named Ewark, who basically says only the rich people can live up above, and his daughter has just scrounged together enough pop cans that they're going to be able to eat food tomorrow night. After the break, the three of them sit down over coffee, and we as the viewers are going to get a history lesson on just how space came to be the way it is and why these people are living in a hobo town, despite being in space. Meanwhile, the daughter, of course, is being a little bit annoying, but Haro distracts her as a bit of a Chekhov's daughter, and we get the explanation that there was an ancient colony wars between the Zalam and the Yuba. Most important thing being is that they're going to start with the letter Z. Whether it's Zeon or Zaft, you get the idea. And after hundreds of years, the colonies were left, but the most important thing was they decided to destroy all their old technology in the form of the mobile suits, except for the fact that Hiro Yui went into the sun and dragged them all back, which is why they're in the predicament that they're in now. Flit asks quite an apt question where he says, why do they still fight? And he says that it's because the old hatreds continue, and the talk of ideologies makes me be reminded of the Zeon remnants and the nice links to a lot of the Gundam series we've seen in the past. Grudek had earlier told Mirai that he's going somewhere unimportant, and he ends up going to see the president of the colony. His name is Bon Voyage. Well, Don, he seems to be a bad guy arms dealer, which Grudek, who's undercover as a civilian businessman, reveals as he dramatically rips off his coat and hat to reveal his military uniform and military hat underneath, which is ridiculous. He ends up saying that I will trade you old weapons blueprints, which we all know have been banned since the treaty, and he's going to trade them for weapons, which makes the Don laugh and say, what kind of soldier are you? And he's obviously the kind that's quite angry his photos fell down. And it also takes us back to a lot of Gundams where we've seen treaties before from the 1 Year War, and things with Zaft and Seed. And then they also have a good speech about talking how Grudak says how people get rich selling weapons to people with their old hates, which is a nice throwback to Seed Destiny. The two of them hop in a car, they're nonplussed, it seems, by the mobile suit fight happening all around them, and they end up going to the Unicorn Mansion, and you half expect to see Banagher's father there, passing on the keys. You'll never guess, but as explosions rock the colony over their nice coffee, they realize that the daughter, Chekhov's daughter, has run off to the surface, and Ewark hops into his old fire hydrant kind of working mobile suit, and heads out there. They find her, he hands off the daughter to the kids, and then decides, I am going to make them pay, and goes at them with nothing more than a shovel and a pickaxe that glows red with a little bit of a gun that seems to be a little bit more effective than the Genoese. My favorite part of the episode, though, was that Flit says this guy needs backup, he can't win in that MS. He snaps his fingers, and Rain Mikamura the day before had prepared the Gundam to appear. Well, actually, it's Vargas in a trailer, but it takes about just as much time to arrive, and then the battle can actually begin. As Ewark is about to bite it, Flit convinces him to get out and says, don't orphan your daughter, which of course is going to have more resonance for Flit. He bails out just as his MS conveniently explodes. After that, Flit decides to draw them away and not use the Dod's rifle because it could set up too much problems. As Grudak and the Dawn watch the battle on TV, he makes a pitch to get 4 warships to go and destroy a UE base. And as they watch, all of a sudden, the Bacto shows up from the UE. Everybody's surprised, especially Flit, as he fires his beam rifle at him, and it completely deflects and has no effect, which is all the more surprising considering how strong the Dodds was portrayed in previous episodes. As Flit draws his beam saber and goes in for the close quarter kill, he is as surprised as anybody to see the Bacto completely disappear, which means he's completely unprepared for the fact that he's going to get surrounded by a bunch of Zakus, who despite the fact they were tearing up the city earlier, are all of a sudden angry at him for the damage done by the Dod's rifle when it deflected and damaged the city. And he's left with his protest that I was trying to help save the city, falling on deaf ears, and setting up quite a cliffhanger for the next episode. Overall, I thought all 3 main characters acquitted themselves pretty well, with Flit doing a very good job of having that balance between youthfulness and level-headedness and thinking ahead if he's going to become the legendary grandfather. You can see it starting here. Emily wasn't spying too much, she wasn't as annoying, she was still getting her point across, but not in a way that bugged me the same way it did last episode. But my standout character has to be Captain Grudak. He's willing to go to any cost, it looks like, to fight the UE, which I'm sure means he's going to be a good guy in the big picture, and now we have a better understanding of why. Overall plot, the signs of the corrupt government are always good to see in any Gundam series, and we the viewers got a great history lesson on what's happened before, the old wars, the fact that they have that continuity tease to things that have come in the past. Everything about this episode is bringing the plot together and making it a little bit more Gundam-y. Now, the other thing is the throwaway mobile suits. They're very disappointing that they're not even going to be getting advanced grades, despite the fact that there's 2 for each side so far. I wonder if we'll see a little bit more of them. But my favorite MS had to be the breakout appearance of the back toe, which came across as looking like a Gafran, except for the fact that it's pumped out on steroids with a much more interesting kind of chest. It had a debut, I'd say, as good as the Zetas, and looking ahead, I look forward to seeing how everything's going to do. Disappointing that Bandai doesn't have an AG or HG on the shelf, but that'll be remedied shortly, I'm sure. So I'd say things are moving along pretty well, and as always, I'm looking forward to the next episode and to see more MSs and models come out. But why don't you let me know what you think of this review? Love to hear from you down below. Which characters, MSs, and story plot points are you enjoying? And what would you change if you could? Anyway, everybody, Robert184 gundam.tk. Lots more to come. See you next week with another review and lots more in between. Bye.